Hi, I'm Jens Geikebeck,
And I'm Jeff Louie.
and we are both the product managers at Google and here to talk to you about responsive ads for display that we launched just recently. For those of you who are not familiar with responsive ads, we'll first give you an overview of what they are and what they do, and then we'll talk about some best practices before we go to your questions.
So Jens, why do advertisers need responsive ads?
Good question, Jeff. It turns out that to render an ad to your target audience in the moments that matter, whether they are on one or more devices or on the desktop, actually requires a lot of different combinations depending on sizes and devices that they run on. So it's hard for an advertiser to provide all these different versions of the ad. And so therefore, we've created a new ad called responsive ads that allows us to render the ad optimally just given the assets that you give us. So simply provide us with a couple of headlines, a description, an image, and the URL. And we will then render the ad as a text ad, as an image ad, and also as a native ad in any size and on any device using Google's powerful optimization algorithms. Now, some of you may not precisely know what a native ad is. And so just to recap quickly, that a native ad is an ad slot on a publisher page or in an app that has been designed by the publisher to be very integral into their experience and with the look and feel of their website. So publishers are increasingly starting to do this in order to provide a more fluid and better user experience. So there are three main advantages of responsive ads over text ads. So for the first one is that responsive ads provide greater creative input because you provide the assets yourselves. So if you have your image that you think is working well for you, you can give that to us, and we will then use that in rendering the ad. Second, in the early tests, we've seen an increased reach for advertisers. So over standard text ads, which will give you more volume. And then third, it also allows you to create a better user experience across your ads. So, but if you are able to render in ways that match the look and feel of the content in which your ad is shown, that's also better for you. So for those of you that are interested in a side-by-side comparison, here you can see the different details of what responsive ads offer versus a standard text ad on display.
So Jens, quick question here. Does this mean that advertisers should create both text ads and responsive ads to maximize their reach?
Actually, no. So text ads will render both in text. They'll render an image. They'll render in native. And so it'll actually give you the same access as text plus more because it will also render in the native inventory. So no need to going forward to create a text ad. Just create a responsive ad.
Awesome.
So let's take you through a little example of the user experience. So when you go into the AdWords front end and you click plus ad, you can select responsive ads now for display campaigns, and it opens up this creation experience. So the first thing you do is upload images, and we're trying to make it very easy to do. So as an example, if you provide us with the URL of the landing page or the website, we can then we'll then scan that website or that page and provide you with suggestions for what images to use. So in this case, as you can see here, we've entered the Chromecast URL, public URL, and it's pulled the images, the two images you see there, and we've selected the one on the left. You can also upload your images. So many of you have the images that you're using in different places, and those should generally be working well here. We're using standard format for that. And you can also, and that's optional, but you can add in a logo as well if you have it. So once you've added in the images, you can then fill in your headlines and your description and your name and URL. And as you do that, you will see the ad preview on the right-hand side, and it will kind of cycle through the various different renderings from image ads to text ads and to native ads, so you get a sense of what it would look like. So here, for instance, you see an example of a rendering for as an image ad. And here you see the rendering for a native ad.
So Jens, these are great examples of big name advertisers with nice professional images. But what if an advertiser doesn't have an image? Can they still use responsive ads?
Yeah, so we provide you with an ability to also select from a number of stock photos if you don't have any that you think you would like to use yourself. And we will suggest up some for you, and you can pick among those. Those are free to use for advertisers with the ad, and so that should hopefully get you over the hump and get you to run responsive ads if you've just run text ads before. Okay, what we've also been asked by advertisers a lot is, show me more examples of what will render. Obviously, since this is a format that can render in thousands of different ways, we can't show you show them all to you. But here are some examples of renderings that you expect to see around the web as you browse and as your responsive ad shows in various different sizes, as native, as text, and as image. And now I'll hand it over to you to talk about how we can optimize our responsive ads.
Awesome. Thanks, Jens. So as Jens mentioned, responsive ads can perform extraordinarily well as compared to text ads in our early tests. But the ad format is just part of your success formula. We think it's really important to understand that your creative content is equally as important. So let's walk through some best practice areas to that regard. We're going to talk about customization, creative inputs, testing and optimization, and then lastly, some do's and don'ts. All right, customizing your ad creative. So there's two key points here for customizing. The first one is tailor your ads to the purchase funnel stage that you are targeting. Delivering the right message at the right moment can make all the difference in converting a browser to a customer. The second point is focus on what makes your business unique by really highlighting your unique selling points, your prices, and your promotions. The key thing here is you want to make it really, really, really easy for people and for browsers to understand what makes you relevant and unique from the competition. You want to make it really simple when they're just browsing by your ad. All right, taking advantage of the new input types. So Jens talked about the difference between responsive ads and standard text ads. And responsive ads provide more creative input and control for you to tell your story. So some tips here. Headline and description. So Jens talked about how you get longer character lengths of 90 characters for both headline and description. And you'll want to take advantage of the longer character limits that we enable here. This larger canvas allows you to better distinguish your offering, and the longer headlines often perform better in native ads, actually. For image, make sure you use images that have a strong visual focus without too much text overlay. And then lastly, for logos, logos are optional, but adding a logo will actually increase the number of placements that your ad is eligible for. Testing and optimization. So we've found this element of testing and optimizing is really the most important area for you to focus on. There's a good chance your first responsive ad won't likely be your best performing ad. If so, more power to you, congratulations. But we found that often takes some iteration. So you want to give yourself the best chances of success through iteration.
So how many creatives do you think an advertiser should be adding per ad group?
Great question. Definitely more than one, as we talked about. Iterating is important. So it is best to test different combinations of creative. Ideally, 3 to 5 ads per ad group is great, but more is definitely better. Our second point here is around leveraging your lessons. So don't forget your past lessons. You've likely spent a lot of time optimizing your current text and image ads, and make sure to leverage those learnings and insights from your best performing text and image ads into your responsive ads. Ad rotation. So you have a number of options when you're setting ad rotations. Selecting the option to optimize for clicks and conversions will allow AdWords to actually optimize your performance. And then lastly, on rinse and repeat. So we think it's important to continue testing. Even the best creative that performs really, really well can become less effective as time passes by. So it's best to periodically be adding new creatives into the mix. And finally, we have some do's and don'ts based on lessons we've learned from our broad base of advertisers using responsive ads so far. The first do is make sure to create multiple ad creatives, as I just mentioned in response to Jens's question, to allow AdWords machine learning system to optimize the best performing ads for you. The next do is take advantage of the longer character limits of responsive ads to highlight what makes your business relevant and unique. And then a couple of parting advice for things to avoid. The first one is avoid just using the same content in your headline and your description fields. We know it's easy to do to just copy and paste, but these are intended to be different content fields. And in some ads, it can actually be used together. In some places.
Wouldn't look so great if we're just basically repeating the same message twice.
Yeah, people might see that and think it's a bug.
Yeah.
And then the second don't, and this is probably the most common thing we've found through looking at thousands of images that our advertisers upload, is avoid images that are too busy. And this means images that have like multiple focal points, maybe an airplane here and a helicopter there we've seen sometimes, or ads with too much text overlays. The best performing images we found tend to be the ones with a strong focus on a single element.
Mm-hmm. Also, probably because they will render in different sizes, right?
Exactly, so, especially within mobile. Yeah. When you have mobile ads and the images are a lot smaller, those multiple elements become even harder to read.
For instance, in a feed, or when you have when
exactly.
the image gets very small. Yeah. So we want to remind you, which you may have heard before, that we've sent out emails about this as well. Is we are you will come January 31st. No longer be able to create or edit standard text ads, but there's plenty of time to do this, to switch over. We also allow you to run enhanced text ads as well, but it's really best for you to run responsive ads in order to take full advantage of the power of the Google Display Network. So now we go to your questions, and let's see what questions there are here for us. All
right, here's the first question that just came in. So Jens, I'm going to let you take this one. What is the difference between the new expanded text ads and these responsive ads?
Yeah, so the difference is that responsive ads were really created for the Google Display Network to really take advantage of the ability to run everywhere, and also in a visual way. Whereas expanded text ads or enhanced text ads were really generated more as a search ad, and we do allow you to copy and paste over onto the Google Display Network, but we are you're not going to get the same reach and access to all inventory as you are with responsive ads. So we strongly recommend you to use responsive ads.
Great.
Let's see. So we have a next one here. So
how about we take this one from Angela?
Yeah.
So Angela asks, can you tell us more about the performance of responsive ads versus standard text ads?
Do you want to take that?
Sure. So we've done a lot of testing thus far in comparing performance of responsive ads to text ads. And what we found so far in the early days is that we're seeing, on average, about a 15% increase in reach with responsive ads versus standard text ads at a pretty comparable performance for CPA, et cetera. So, so far, we're pretty happy with the results that responsive ads are giving.
Yeah, I think it's really an opportunity to and as the tests have shown, to improve your reach using responsive ads. So we strongly recommend that. There was also a question here of what would be a good CTR for responsive ads in a display campaign, and I think that really it's very, very hard to say because it really matters a lot on your campaign, your targeting, your line of business, and so on. So it's really not really possible to give a good indicator for that. Let's see what else.
Number two, the next one from Incentiventus. So the question is, will responsive ads be available for search with display select campaigns?
And so the plan is, so what you may not, or you may know what a search with display select campaign is. Basically, just for folks who don't, it's a campaign type when you go into AdWords that allows you to run on search as a normal search campaign, but also you also have the opportunity to expand your campaign onto running on the Google Display Network whenever we think it will give you a good CPA or equivalent CPA. And we have and so really we think of these search with display select campaigns as being search campaigns foremost. And so we're not at this point providing the ability to add a responsive ad into an SNDS campaign.
Okay. Next question. Do you suggest having a separate campaign just for responsive ads versus a campaign with standard banner ads together?
Do you want to take that?
Yeah, so that's a great question. I think, again, that really can depend on what you're trying to accomplish, if you want to have a separate budget. But we do think that it's great when you're first trying out responsive ads to have a point of comparison. So to put that in the same campaign or even in the same ad group, so you can actually make it a true apples-to-apples comparison. With text ads or image ads can be a good way to really kind of understand performance, especially when you're first starting out with responsive ads.
I think there's also the point that you also want to keep your campaign structure as simple as you can. So if the targeting would be exactly the same, there's really no particular reason to recreate a new campaign, and then you'll also just have one budget. You don't have to manage that across multiple campaigns. So we generally recommend to put them in the same campaigns with the same targeting. But if it for some reason feels better to you to do that, you of course able to do that as well.
Yeah. All right. Next question. This is actually from someone's name who I can pronounce, Eric. What would be the benefits of using responsive ads versus text ads?
And it also says using banner/responsive ads.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. So you generally, as we mentioned, you'll get better reach from using responsive ads versus text ads, just because it can render in more places and with and so you just get a better reach versus with banner ads. So banner ads obviously are you upload a static image ad, or you use one of our template ads to build a banner ad. So if you have let's say concerns about like look and feel of the ad, that it has to be pixel perfect in a particular way alongside with your brand guidelines and so on, then of course you're welcome to, and you can, and we encourage you to upload them as static text ads, or as a static banner ad. But they don't have the ability, as a banner ads will not be able to run in text inventory. They'll not be able to run in native inventory because they're basically just a banner slot on publishers' pages. So we encourage you, if you have sort of both needs, to combine them, so you have both a responsive ad as well as your own created and finely tuned banner ads.
Okay. Let's see. From Caesar. Caesar asks, How and when can we see segmented data of how responsive ads perform in impressions as a text ad versus a display ad versus a native ad, for example? So that's a great question. We get that a lot. It's important to note that we have responsive ads just launched this past August, and we're on our version 1, but we're definitely collecting lots of ideas and inputs for follow-up releases. This is probably one of the more popular requests, is being able to get reporting at the level of the various rendering formats, and that's definitely something we're considering into 2017.
I think that one thing to be be careful about or clear about, though, is that how can that information be used, and what would you use it for? Is it actionable? And really, if you have concerns about certain types of ad slots, it's better to like banners, for instance, you should run just to do banner ads if you only want to run banner slots. I think what this does, but by allowing us to run in all different in all different inventory, it allows us to optimize for you across the board. And so if you set up your campaign correctly with, say, target CPA, bidding, we can basically make sure that we do the right thing for you, and so you actually wouldn't have to worry about the performance between the two. So we really see this as kind of the best performance ads product on the Google Display Network, and by using it this way and giving us the assets, we can run our optimizations in the background and on every single impression decide what's the best rendering for you. Let's see. So it says, any plans to allow uploaded HTML5 creatives for responsive ads instead of using the ad builder? So I don't know if I completely understand this question. I mean, I think this sort of talks to the ability to, just like an HTML5, where you can upload your assets and you also have some control of a look and feel. I think the question here is around the ad builder experience, so which is template ads. And so I really think of responsive ads as more automatic template ad, basically, because with template ads today, you are basically kind of constraining the look and feel, and you have, as an advertiser, the ability to go in and select what you want to render, how you want to render, but you don't really know all the different places and what looks best in certain contexts. And so and you also don't have the ability to run across all inventory. So we will definitely say that you should just take those creative assets that you have from your template ads and put and create a responsive ad in the same ad group for it, run in parallel and see how it does.
Yeah, and just to follow up with Jens's point, there is one of the nice things about responsive ads in comparison to HTML5 is that it does probably get you more access to placements, because it basically will serve up into any ad slot on the GDN, while also allowing you to upload your own images in creative.
So here's one for you, Jeff. So I've tested responsive and banner ads in the same campaign, and I've noticed that responsive ads were served a lot more. Why would that be?
Excellent question. So without knowing the details of your campaign, it's most likely that the responsive ad is performing much better. And so our machine learning system kind of learns what creatives within the ad group or within the campaign perform best, and then optimize for that, assuming you've selected that rotation option for basing it on clicks or conversions. So that would be the most likely reason, is that responsive ads is just outperforming. But
it's also in this case getting more impressions just because it has access to the additional inventory, right? So exactly. So native inventory and text inventory, as we talked about before, which banner ads don't have access to.
Yep. Let's see. So one more question that's being asked. Let's see. You mentioned the standard text ads will be shut down on January 31st. What happens to my existing text ads at that point?
Yeah, that's a great question. So basically, at that point in time, standard text ads will continue to run, but you won't be able to create new ones or going in and edit the existing ones. So, but if you just leave them, don't want to change them, then they'll just keep serving. There will be no changes there. But it's basically the date where if you want to create new ads, you have to, generally in AdWords, to either create enhanced text ads on the search side, and generally we recommend using responsive ads on display.
Great. Let's see, maybe one last question here. Is Google prioritizing responsive ads on the display network? Let's see, that question, I'm not sure if that question would be around if we're doing anything within the machine learning algorithms to prioritize responsive ads.
I think it's that, or is it just as a focus for us?
Yeah.
So I would say, so if we talk about like just as a focus, as you can tell, these are focus for us on the GDN. Generally, responsive ads will compete with all the ads out there in the auction, and so there's no, like no prioritization or anything. It's really about, how do they perform, and our models will kind of, learn how your ad is performing and adjust, and it depends on your bids and all, and your targeting and so on and so forth. So it's really just like any other ad in the system.
Yep, and to your point about focus, it's definitely a strong focus here at Google. We consider responsive ads kind of our next generation of text ads, and as a lot of the ad inventory on the internet starts to leverage images, this is a big part of what makes responsive ads for us really exciting, right?
Yep.
Is that we're collecting image assets, which we previously didn't do with text ads.
Yeah. So I think that was all the questions that we had here. So thank you for listening in. Thank you for joining us, and we look forward to seeing how your ads are performing, and hope you have a lot of success with new responsive ads.
Thank
you.